Hi, I'm Jeff Murrah. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today I decided to go ahead and tackle a topic that's in the news, which is the whole question of can Texas secede? And I went ahead and labeled this can Texas secede as the wrong question. And why I went ahead and did that is when it comes down to secession and issues like that, doesn't make sense to ask for permission. Because if you ask for permission, of course they're going to say no. You know, when a husband and wife want to get divorced, they don't typically go around, can I divorce you? That's not typically what happens. People don't want to give you permission to leave them. And no one is going to give permission for Texas to leave. I mean, even in the days of leading up to the Republic of Texas, the Mexican government had outlawed the ayuntamientos, the local government bodies. So did Texas ask for permission to leave Mexico? No. They went ahead and had the meetings and demanded it and made a declaration. We are leaving. Things are no longer tolerable the way things are going. In the past, I went ahead and tackled the secession issue. In fact, I have a little book, Secession in Texas, that goes into all the details as to what happened with, how we came into the United States and also how we left. Now, I consider it a more important question. How will Texas secede? Or when will Texas secede? Now, those are questions worth going ahead and considering. Now, at the time that Texas seceded, they went ahead and they did a couple of things. One, they made sure that they had elected delegates that represented the people. Now, Governor Houston was not going to allow an election, so the various counties went ahead and selected the delegates to the secession convention on their own. Now, at that time, there was a lot of secession fever in Texas. We even had something called independence poles. Those were flagpoles that flew giant, oversized Texas flags. Gee, I wonder where some of those traditions started. So they went ahead and did that. And of course, when the convention assembled, they went ahead and repudiated the acts of some of the illegal acts, may I add, of one of the previous Republic of Texas Congresses that overstepped their authority when they went ahead and joined the Union. Now, there was a whole series of illegal missteps along the way. So to turn around and say, well, you didn't do it the right way, later on is disingenuous at best. After the delegates assembled, they went ahead and considered what was happening in the nation. They decided secession was the best way to go. Now, what many people don't realize is that there were many issues going on in the United States at that time. And the secession was not something that just impacted the states. You also find a lot of the religious denominations, because the northern branches were heading in one direction, the southern branches were heading in another, and they considered secession as a peaceful way to go ahead and pull apart from each other rather than having to fight things out. Unfortunately, it didn't end that way. But getting back to the story of Texas, the delegates went ahead, repudiated the illegal acts, voted for secession, approved it, and then on top of that, they went ahead and put the matter to the people of the Texas to decide, so that it was not a few people unilaterally making that decision. It was a decision by the people of Texas in doing that. Now, I know there are people out there, a lot of times I refer to them as lazy lawyers, that will turn around and say, well, it's illegal for Texas to secede because of this court case of Texas versus White. Most of these people have not read Texas versus White. They don't know what the court case says. Now, keep in mind that the Supreme Court has taken a lot of contradictory stands in the past. At one point, slavery was legal. At another point, birth control was illegal. Things are legal and illegal all the time. And so to use this and say, oh, but the Supreme Court said you can't secede, these people have not read the court case. If they had, they would realize there was a lot of shenanigans going on. In fact, that court case does not say secession is illegal. All it does is put all kinds of legal requirements on, when you do secede. So, like I said, they have not read the case, and had they done so, they would have known better. Let's see, for instance, it says the Union is indestructible and not dissoluble by the acts of a state, the government, or the people. Secession can only occur in revolution with the approval of all the other states. So does it say it's illegal? No. It does say that it is legal, and at the time that all this debate was going on, secession was still taught as a legal remedy at West Point. So keep that in mind. And the judge that wrote this opinion, he wrote it independent of the other justices. It was a 5-3 ruling, and they needed a court case to prove secession was illegal, mainly because what are they going to do with all the Confederate debt? They had to find some way to deal with it, and so they needed a court case to essentially take the United States off the hook for all the debt incurred by the southern states. And this was a clever way to go ahead and do it. They were looking for an out, and the Texas versus White case gave them an out. At least it gave them a chance to go ahead and make this ruling. And they went ahead and came up with this flimsy ruling. And since then, people say, well, you can't do this because it's illegal. But the court didn't even say it was illegal. And Supreme Court rulings get overturned all the time. So that's nothing new. It's just a lot of times people will take that position, well, the Supreme Court ruled, because they don't want to get into it. Because technically, when you go to court, you take a look at, you can technically go back and overturn many rulings. They just don't like to. It's too much of a hassle. And the Supreme Court did not say what part of how Texas seceded was illegal. Was it the fact that we put the measure to the people? Was it the fact that we had elected representatives doing it? Was it the fact that the acts of a renegade Congress were overturned? Which part was illegal? No one has bothered to go ahead and address those issues. So, we've got a measure that supposedly will be on the ballot next year. We'll see, about secession. And the key question is not going to be, can we do it? Because, of course, people are going to say you can't. But how we do it, how secession is approached, how debt is handled, and how services are taken care of. Because there's going to be a lot of scary stories about what will or will not happen. Texas does have a history of leaving. We left Mexico. Technically, there were some efforts for us to go ahead and leave Spain with the Gutierrez-McGee expedition. but that never succeeded. We did leave the Union once. Of course, if you go back to Texas versus White, they had this gobbledygook of, well, Texas still has its obligations as a state, but it's not a state. So what are we? That kind of legal double talk. It's just because they wanted to collect the taxes, but they didn't want us to be able to bring lawsuits and defend ourselves in a court of law. But I wanted to go ahead and address this question and talk about it in terms of legal precedents. I go into it in more detail on my video on the site dealing with Texas versus White. That's where I get into all the legal ramifications of that court ruling and the questions about it. Today I just wanted to go ahead and present an overview since this was a topic that was in the news concerning whether or not Texas can secede. Of course, you don't ask for permission. You just go ahead and you declare your independence. There's a reason why they call it declarations of independence, because you have to declare. You don't ask for permission to leave because they're not going to give it to you. So if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, I'll be glad to fill you in. Just join. How much did you miss? Oh, I'm afraid you missed a lot, but it's going to come back for a replay because I'm going to leave it up, and I will have it up on my YouTube site, True Texas History, so you can check it out there as well. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. If you have questions, comments, leave them below. I'll be glad to get to them. Until next time, this is Jeff Murrah wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.